Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome back to my channel. My name's Cashel and I try my absolute best to inform you about a true crime case that I have been thinking about this week. That is a total lie because I actually wrote this script 2 years ago for today's case. Fun fact, I have actually filmed this video 3 times maybe. I can't remember exactly what's happened each time, but I definitely know the last time my microphone was muted and it sent me into a spiral. I'm not gonna lie, I was fuming. It's taken me so long to get back to doing this case because it's horrible. It's not my favourite. I mean, it's interesting, but it's not my favourite to talk about because I find it so incredibly frustrating. It does make me want to stick my head through a wall. Trigger warnings for today's case include talk of mental health and suicide. So if any of those are things you don't want to listen to today, that's absolutely fine. I hope I will see you for another case. Content warning, as always, strong language. On May 23rd, 2014, the coastal town of Isla Vista, California, was shattered by a brutal act of violence that would come to symbolise a dark intersection of misogyny, mental health struggles and internet extremism. This is the case of Elliot Rodger. Elliot was born on the 24th of July 1991 in London. His father was Peter Rodger, a British filmmaker. He was best known for his work on the documentary Oh My God and being a secondary director on the Hunger Games. His mother was a Malaysian research assistant named Lynn Chin Rodgers. The family ended up emigrating to the US in 1996. This move was due to Peter's film career really taking off. Elliot seemed to adjust well to this move and to his new life. His teachers described him as well behaved and said that he fit in really well. He even made a few new friends. However, when Elliot was 7, his life seemed to take a turn. His parents ended up getting divorced and this had a massive effect on Elliot. Not only this, but quite quickly after the divorce, his father got into a new serious relationship. Things between Elliot's father Peter and his new partner seemed to move very quickly, and before he knew it, she'd moved in and was now Elliot's stepmom. However, Elliot and his new stepmom did not really get along. They did not see eye to eye on most things. They had frequent arguments and Elliot refused any form of discipline from his stepmother, as he said that she had no authority over him because she wasn't his real mum. By just 8 years old, Elliot had already started seeing therapists, which is good. He was receiving psychiatric treatment and was also prescribed medication. This was for several different mental illnesses and disorders. We don't know what they are at this time though. However, despite being prescribed these medications, Elliot point blank refused to take them. His mother believed that he was suffering from some form of Asperger's syndrome, but this was never diagnosed. Elliot's father and stepmother went on to have a little baby boy, and Elliot once again really struggled with this. He felt like the baby had just kind of replaced him, and he was left struggling to know where his place was to fit in. Throughout his time at secondary school, Elliot claimed that he was severely bullied. However, one of the students that went to school with Elliot said that several people were nice to him, but he rebuffed their attempts at friendship. Therefore, Elliot kind of isolated himself and felt isolated. He was definitely bullied though. One of these occasions, a bully taped his head to a desk. American schools are fucking different, mate. So as Elliot gets older, he kind of goes into the teenage phase of my life sucks, I hate everyone, this isn't good enough, that isn't good enough, just miserable. It's hormones, things are all over the place, you just hate everyone, you hate your life. Elliot's now in that phase and he's having no luck with girls, so he makes it the entire world's problem. He then turns to hating every woman who's never even spoke to him just because they're a woman. Elliot does live a very privileged life. He is walking red carpets with his dad. He attended private concerts. He was going on private jets. He was going on lavish holidays. He got pretty much everything he wanted. He got everything just handed to him. But I think that was part of the problem. But of course, this was not enough for Elliot because he wasn't getting the attention that he wanted from females. This was ruining his life. When Elliot was 16, he's still seeing a psychiatrist and he ends up being prescribed antipsychotic medication for schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. He admitted in some of his YouTube videos that he was not taking this medication because he said there was nothing wrong with him. So I don't know how much the average person knows about Elliot Rodgers, but this boy wrote a manifesto about his life and what he planned to do, and kind of like a D-Day manifesto that a lot of mentally ill people who go on to commit crimes do actually do. And Elliot's was, I read it, it was incredibly hard to read. It was so frustrating to read. It did make me want to stab pencils through my eyes. It was so hard. If you want something that's going to make you incredibly angry, go read this manifesto. It's so hard to read. But I have got screenshots. Bearing in mind, I did read this about 2 years ago. I have got screenshots of parts of the manifesto that I thought were relevant that I can add in to this video now. That was the worst way of possibly saying that. So Elliot starts to become obsessed with the idea of having a girlfriend, and his life was terrible because he didn't have one. His whole thought process for everything on a daily basis revolved around having a girlfriend, getting a girlfriend. With this, because girls didn't fancy him at the moment, Elliot set himself up on a self-care journey, self-improvement journey. So there's no way any girl could reject him after he's done all of this. He learned how to drive. He convinced his dad to buy him a swanky, fancy BMW, thinking that would just reel in the girls. Is that reeling in? What is that? Reeling in? There we go. That's it. He also changed his hair and brought himself a new wardrobe. So Elliot's taken himself on a makeover, and this is the extract from his manifesto after he had done this. So his mum had gifted him some Gucci sunglasses. I admired myself in the mirror for a few moments and began to feel a surge of enthusiasm. I wanted everyone to see me looking like that. I was hopeful that some girls would admire me. I said to myself there was no way I could possibly have trouble with getting girls now. I stopped by at a Starbucks to buy a latte and set off for my college with confidence that I would appear as a superior gentleman to all of the students there. I was a superior gentleman. That was what I was born to be, and now it was time to show it to the world. It was a bright sunny day as I ascended the familiar steps to the beautiful college campus of SBCC. I immediately went to the restroom to look at myself in the mirror a few times, just to say that I could feel more assured of myself. Yes, I thought, I'm the image of beauty and supremacy. I kept saying it over and over again as if it was a mantra. When I crossed the renowned bridge that connected the two halves of the campus, I felt as if everyone was admiring me. As I passed by groups of girls, I pretended to imagine they secretly adored and wanted me. After all, that was how it was meant to be. The more I walked around the campus, the more I tried to convince myself that that was the case. My first class was sociology, and I waited until everyone was seated before I walked in. I came through the front entrance so that everyone could look at my fabulous self. To my utter dismay, I saw that no one turned their head to look at me at all. No girl tilted their head or lifted a pretty little eyebrow at my approach. After all that effort, I was still being treated like I was invisible. So that's your first sight into Elliot's thoughts and way of thinking. And he is very much entitled. He feels he is entitled to people's attention. I'm not going to put my 2 pence in too much yet. I'll just let you form an opinion first. Classmates, however, noted that Elliot never actually tried to make an effort with anyone else. And from what you read in his manifesto, it's clear that he wants people to swarm to him. He doesn't want to go and speak to anyone else, which is half of the problem. Again, he would sit in his own car during lunch. He wouldn't sit with anyone during lunch or try and make friends with anyone. He expected everyone to come to him, to his car, whilst they were... it's not going to happen. At some point, Elliot started his own YouTube channel and an online blog, and in both of these, he would speak about how lonely he was and the struggles of being rejected. He was very active in this online community called the Manosphere, which sounds terrifying, which is commonly associated with misogyny and anti-feminism. So yeah, that's why it sounds terrifying. And all of the clips from these videos give off very much woe is me, as does the manifesto. It gives very, oh my god, my life is so hard. Why does no one love me? It's just, the whole thing is incredibly frustrating.
Look at this. Groups of hot young sluts who would just reject me
And look at these douchebags right here. These assholes, these obnoxious little slobs. Those are the kind of guys that girls like, instead of magnificent gentlemen like myself. Here I am, Elliot Rodger. Beautiful, magnificent gentleman. Though the girls around this town don't see it. They hang around with those slobs. Those obnoxious, horrible, disgusting men. But they never give me a chance. That's why my life is so unfair.
So as I said, he sits in his car on his own at lunch, and in one of his classes, he spots a girl named Brittany who he really fancies, but again, he expects people to go to his. So this is what he wrote about Brittany in his manifesto. I soon found out the name of the beautiful girl in my math class. Her name was Brittany Story. Being the obsessed stalker that I was, I looked her up on Facebook, and what I found shattered my already wounded heart to pieces. She had a boyfriend. Not only that, but the boyfriend was the type of boy I've always hated and despised. A tall, muscular surfer jock with a buzz cut. As I looked at the pictures of the two of them together, I shivered with pure hatred. I could physically feel the hatred burn through my entire body. I wanted to kill both of them, and I was capable of doing it. Brittany's Story should have been mine, and if I can't have her, no one should. I fantasized about capturing the two of them and stripping the skin off the boyfriend's flesh while making her watch. Why must my life be so full of torment and hatred? I questioned the universe with the turmoil roiling inside me. I screamed and cried with anguish that day. My housemate Spencer heard all of it, but I didn't care. I have no notes. On the 4th of June 2011, he moved to Isla Vista to attend Santa Barbara City College. He thought maybe this was his chance for a fresh start. He moved into a place with 2 flatmates, and almost immediately conflict started. Who could have seen that coming? He would argue with both of them pretty much on a daily basis, and several times this ended in physical altercations. Who can be bothered to argue daily? He later dropped out in February 2012, which I bet his housemates were fucking relieved of. From 2011 to 2012, Elliot was involved in a series of minor incidents, including throwing drinks on people, spraying them with water guns, and this was to couples that he was jealous of. If he saw a couple out in public, this would ruin his entire day. His entire day. And the same if, some of the drink throwing incidents were for girls that just didn't, smile at him. There is a video from his YouTube, which if I can find, I will insert now.
I'm so angry right now. I was enjoying a peaceful time at this beach park, and what comes to sit in front of me? A young couple, a guy with his hot girlfriend. I mean, who do they think they are? Coming here, sitting in front of me to make me feel jealous? This is the reason why I hate the world. This is getting too out of hand. I can't go anywhere anymore without seeing these young couples getting jealous and, having them remind me of what I'm lacking in life. And how can I feel a sense of pride when I go out, knowing that I'll see guys with their girlfriends? I mean, look at them. Who do they think they are? Everywhere I go, I'm all alone. And I have to see other guys experience this world with girlfriends at their side. Like this couple right here. I hate them. I mean, this world is such a spectacular place, full of adventure and discovery. But I'm not allowed to experience it. Because everywhere I go, I have to be insulted by the sight of young couples reminding me of what I lack. Because no girl wants to be my girlfriend. Oh, he thinks he's better than me. Everyone probably sees me alone and then sees that guy with his girlfriend, and they think that he's better than me because a girl chose him over me. I can't go anywhere anymore and feel a sense of pride in myself because of this. I hate them.
So Elliot was under the impression that these people were doing this to him on purpose, like people were following him around on purpose to make him jealous. And he felt like having a girlfriend would fix all of his problems, which I don't know where he got that from. I think I have 1 or 2 extracts from his manifesto where he describes the instance of him throwing coffee on people. As I made my way back from school one day during the first week, I was stopped at a stoplight in Isla Vista when I saw 2 hot blonde girls waiting at the bus stop. I was dressed in one of my nice shirts, so I looked at them and smiled. They looked at me, but they didn't even deign to smile back. They just looked away as if I was a fool. As I drove away, I became infuriated. It was such an insult. This was the way all girls treated me, and I was sick and tired of it. In a rage, I made a U-turn and pulled up to the bus stop and splashed my Starbucks latte all over them. I felt a feeling of spiteful satisfaction as I saw it stain their jeans, and then I quickly speeded away before they could catch my license number plate. How dare those girls snub me in such fashion? How dare they insult me so? I raged to myself repeatedly. They deserved the punishment I gave them. It was such a pity my latte wasn't hot enough to burn them. Those girls deserve to be burned in boiling water for the crime of not giving me the attention and adoration I so rightfully deserve. If anyone hasn't seen Adolescence, I recommend we go watch it, because this is what is a problem nowadays. Obviously, this was in like 2012, but it is genuinely terrifying in so many ways that you can it's mental illness plays in a part, but then obviously he's joined all these online forums and he's being fed this toxic masculinity, misogynistic ideology that he deserves things, like he deserves a girlfriend, he deserves these women's attention, like he deserves his attention and adoration just for being so fucking fabulous, and that is very concerning. And obviously in this case it ended in the worst way possible, but this is like red flag central. I don't know if Elliot was expressing what he's writing down out loud to many people. I hope that if he was, like in his therapy sessions, more could have been done to stop what happened. But obviously if it's just internalized and he's just expressing it on these online forums and on his manifesto, it's a bit hard, but there must have been signs. The thing is as well, there's an extract in this manifesto where he mentions that a girl actually does smile back at him, and he still turns it into something negative. He says, "That smile put me in a good mood, healthy mood for the rest of that walk, but it soon faded away as I realised that I could never actually have a girl as beautiful as that. She probably only smiled out of politeness. She would never go for me. And what is the point to life if I can't have a girl of such beauty? Some men get to have beautiful girlfriends like that, and some don't. I'm among those who were denied such pleasure, and that is why I hate life." Even when something he would think is good happens, like someone giving him attention and smiling back, he twists it into something horrible still. So there's kind of no winning. Another incident where Elliot sprays people, he is at the park, I believe, or he drives to the park and he sees like a group of teenagers having a good time. And because he's not having that good time, he wants to ruin their good time. So this is what Elliot says on that day. "On one of the days in July, I was roaming around Gersh Park. A group of popular college kids arrived to play kickball in the fields. They looked like typical fraternity jocks, tall and muscular, the kind of guys that I've hated and envied all my life. With them came a flock of beautiful blonde girls, and they looked like they were having so much fun together. One of the girls did a handstand on the grass, and her sexy bare stomach showed as her shirt hung down. All the girls were scantily clad. Rage boiled inside me as I watched them people who I thought they were better than me, enjoying their pleasurable little lives together. The rage was so intense that I couldn't take it. I was insulted too much. I couldn't leave them without getting some form of revenge. So I drove to the nearby Kmart and brought a super soaker, filled it up with orange juice that I brought at the same store, and drove back to the park. They were still there having the time of their lives, and I wanted to ruin it for them. I wanted to ruin their fun just like they ruined mine, as they'd never accept me belong them. I screamed at them with rage as I sprayed them with my super soaker. The boys started to yell and chase after me, and I quickly got into my car and drove away. I was giddy with ecstatic, hate-fueled excitement, and I wish I could spray boiling oil at the foul beasts. They deserve to die horrible, painful deaths just for the crime of enjoying a better life than mine." This is what I mean. He thinks that everyone's out to get him, And because he's not having the fun with them, he thinks they deserve to die. I think it's concerning to think about what could have been the possibility if Elliot got a girlfriend. I think it would have sent him spiraling, because he may have realised that it didn't fix all of his problems. And then, God forbid, obviously they're like 16 at the time, if that relationship didn't work out, which like most don't when you're that age, what the hell would have happened then? So Elliot has now convinced himself that if a new wardrobe and a flashy car hasn't attracted a girlfriend, then money is the way to do it. So he becomes fixated on winning the lottery. He wanted to be richer than everyone else, and he was convinced that winning the lottery would solve all of his problems. Over the next few weeks, Elliot spent around $1,500 on lottery tickets. But when he didn't win any, he absolutely lost his shit. He was fuming. He felt that life had cheated him and he deserved to win. So why the fuck hadn't he? Why was his life so much harder and more horrible than everyone else's? He had a very distorted view on the world, and I don't really know where that came from. Obviously, he's been in therapy since the age of 8. You think that would have helped. But if he's not taking medication that he needs and he's not being forced to by his parents, what can you do? On the 20th of July 2013, Elliot attends a house party. So he must have some friends because he's attending this house party. But he tries to interact with some girls who ignore him. He once again kind of just stood in the corner and expected girls to flock to him. And when they didn't, he tried to push them off a 10-foot ledge. If there wasn't alarm bells for parents before this should have been the alarm bell. Thankfully, he failed. He didn't push any of these girls off, and the boys that were there actually intervened and ended up pushing Elliot off the ledge. He, of course, left the party, but realised he'd left his sunglasses there, so he does go back, and the boys who were there, who were protecting these girls, did actually beat him up, and I think they broke his leg. He did call the police about this, but the police determined quite quickly that he was the aggressor in this situation. He, of course, thought that it was the girls' fault that this had happened. It was their fault for not giving him a chance, and that life was just unfair to him. So again, we'll go back to the manifesto. Eventually, some partiers climbed up onto the ledge. They were all obnoxious, rowdy boys whom I've always despised. A couple of pretty girls came up and talked to them, but not to me. They all started socialising right next to me, and none of the girls paid any attention to me. I rose from my chair and tried to act arrogant and cocky towards them, throwing insults at everyone. They only laughed at me and started insulting me back. That was the last straw. I'd had enough of the insults that night. A dark, hate-fueled rage came over my entire being, and I tried to push as many of them off as I could from the 10-foot ledge. My main target was the girls. I wanted to punish them for talking to the obnoxious boys instead of me. It was one of the most foolish and rash things I ever did, and I almost risked everything by doing it, but I was so drunk with rage that I didn't care. I failed to push any of them from the ledge, and the boys started to push me, which resulted in me being the one to fall onto the street. When I landed, I felt a snap in my ankle, followed by stinging pain. I slowly got up and found that I couldn't even walk. I had to stumble, and stumble I did. I tried to get away from there as fast as I could. The worst part of this whole deal was not being beaten up. Oh no. It was the fact that no one showed any concern. There was only one group who helped me at the end of Del Playa, but after that they abandoned me. Not one girl offered to help me as I stumbled home with a broken leg, beaten and bloody. If the girls had been attracted to me, they'd have offered to walk me to my room, take care of me. They would have even offered to sleep with me to make me feel better, but no, not one girl showed even an ounce of concern for me. They didn't care. No one cared about me. I was alone. As I got to my room, I was so traumatised that I called the only people in the world that I knew. My parents and my sister. Yes, I even called my sister. Someone I never got along with. I sulked for a long time and reached up to my neck to feel my special golden necklace, and I felt nothing there. In the midst of the fight, one of those horrible punks had snatched my special golden necklace that my grandmama had given me. The necklace was one of my most special items, and now those evil, wretched thugs will be selling it to buy drugs. I broke down in anguish, wailed agony, crying and crying until I passed out in my bed, all alone. So yeah, he thinks that after trying to push those girls off the 10-foot ledge, they should have checked on him that he was okay and offered to sleep with him. According to Elliot's manifesto, this was the smoking gun. This was what caused Elliot to start planning his rampage. I'm not part of the human race. Humanity has rejected me. The females of the human species have never wanted to mate with me, so how could I possibly consider myself part of humanity? Humanity has never accepted me among them, and now I know why. I'm more than human. I'm superior to them. I'm Elliot Rodger. Magnificent, glorious, supreme, imminent, divine. I'm the closest thing there is to a living God. Humanity is a disgusting, depraved and evil species, and it is my purpose to punish them all. I will purify the world of everything that is wrong with it on the day of retribution. I will truly be a powerful God, punishing everyone I deem to be impure and depraved. In September of 2013, Elliot began saving his pocket money from his parents and his grandparents. His pocket money. I say I'm not normally one to blame parents, but in school shootings we're now blaming parents, and in this case I think we need to look closely at the fucking parent. He's 21. Go get a fucking job. Like, you know he's got issues. Why is no one keeping a closer eye on this boy? I just don't. It really irritates me. He began frequently visiting driving range like shooting ranges, and brought 3 handguns from 3 separate states. And he began writing his manifesto entitled My Twisted World: The Story of Elliot Rodgers. April 30th, Elliot's parents find his YouTube channel. They watch the videos and they are alarmed by them, thank God. So they call the police. I don't know if they called Elliot, they called the police. So police go to Elliot's apartment and they interview him, but he downplays everything. I don't know if they actually watched the video, but he downplays everything, and they say that he does not meet the criteria for an involuntary mental health hold. And there was no reason to search his residence, but if they had searched his residence, they would have found the guns. He already had 2 handguns in his possession at this point. He'd already began planning his shooting spree. In the last entry of Elliot's manifesto, it read, I didn't start this war. I wasn't the one who struck first, but I will finish it by striking back. I will punish everyone and it will be beautiful. Finally, at long last, I can show my worth to the world, my true worth. Part of Elliot's original plan was to wait until his father was out of town and then go to his father's house, kill his stepmom and kill his little brother, because he was concerned that his little brother was going to turn out to be everything he was not. He knew that his little brother was going to outshine him. But Elliot did have no intentions of killing his dad. The next part of the plan was that he was going to steal the family's SUV and drive back to Isla Vista. He would then kill both of his housemates, and this would mean he had an apartment to just kill people in, so he could lure people in to just kill strangers. Day 2 of his planned attack was that he would go to the Alpha Phi sorority house. He deemed this sorority house to have the best looking girls on campus, and these random girls that probably didn't even know who he fucking was would symbolise every woman that's ever rejected him. He said after he'd done that, he would then get back in his car and run over as many pedestrians as he possibly could, and then once the police eventually caught up to him, he would turn the gun on himself and take his own life. However, thankfully, his father's business trip was cancelled, so he decided not to go ahead with day 1 of his attack and to jump straight into day 2. May 23rd, 2014, Elliot stabbed 3 people to death: his roommates Hong and George Chen, and their friend David Wang, who was just round visiting at the time. 3 of them suffered 142 stab wounds between them. So it was a brutal and unnecessary overkill attack. The police determined that he killed all 3 of them in separate attacks and made an effort to conceal each murder from the next person who was walking in. 9:17 p.m, Elliot uploaded his final YouTube video that was titled Elliot Rodger's Retribution. He described his plans and all the motivations behind what he was planning to do.
Tomorrow is the day of retribution. The day in which I will have my revenge against humanity. Against all of you. You will all be animals. You are animals, and I will slaughter you like animals. All of you sexually active men, I hate you. I hate all of you. If I had it in my power, I would stop at nothing to reduce every single one of you to mountains of skulls and rivers of blood. I can't wait to give you exactly what you deserve. Utter annihilation. I am so godlike.
He then went on to forward his manifesto to 34 people, including his parents, some other family members, his therapist, former school teachers and childhood friends. His therapist immediately contacted his mother, who then rang his father, who then finally rang the police. They all immediately jumped in their cars and raced to Isla Vista in an attempt to stop Elliot, which is impressive because that manifesto took me like 2 days to read. So how they read it that quick, or whether they just skipped to the end, I'm not sure. At first, Elliot went to the Alpha Phi sorority house, and of course we know that Elliot did have the intention of killing everyone inside. His plan was, as soon as someone opened the door, he would just start shooting and then go in and continue shooting. However, his knocks on the door went totally unanswered, so he just began opening fire on random people walking past. He ended up shooting 3 Delta sorority sisters who were out walking nearby. He then got back in his car, drove further downtown, and ended up shooting into the Isla Vista Deli Mart from inside his BMW. And he ended up killing student Christopher Michaels Martinez. Elliot then drove away from the scene and was spotted by 4 patrol officers. However, they didn't suspect him to be the shooter for some fucking reason, and they let him go. Why? Why didn't they? Did they look? Why didn't they expect him to be the shooter? Like, did they look? Because he must have had guns on him somewhere. Elliot then just continued shooting people in drive-by shootings from his car, and then started just running people over. He got into a gun shootout, whatever it's called, with the police and ended up getting shot in the hip. He fled somehow, but was followed closely by police. He was being pursued very closely. He crashed into a cyclist named Keith, who I believe lived but was very injured. At some points he was driving just totally on the wrong side of the road. He ended up wounding 12 people, 6 by gunshots and 6 by his car. After wounding Keith, he then ended up crashing his car. This was into several other parked cars, and he realised he had nowhere else to go. He was kind of stuck now. So this is when he then shoots himself in the head. He was 22 years old. In his car they found 3 pistols, knives, 6 empty 10 rounds, 548 rounds of ammunition. So why the fuck wasn't his car searched? Because they would have found that. On that day he ended up killing 6 people and injuring 14. The victims that Elliot killed were George Chen, who was just 19 years old, Chen Hong, who was 20 years old, David Wang, who was 20 years old, Catherine Cooper, who was 22 years old, Veronica Wiss, who was 19 years old, and Christopher Michaels Martinez, who was 20 years old. Elliot's final YouTube video was found and quickly deleted, but by this point it was too late. Everyone had kind of copied it and reposted it everywhere. Controversially, parts of this YouTube video were used by news outlets who were covering the story. They didn't actually post any like bits of the video, they just posted stills from the video, but this was still a bit of a no-no. Many people were concerned that airing the video would encourage copycat killing, which I don't really think is as big of a thing now as it previously was. And again, I think some things like that, you just need to look out for the warning signs. People don't just do that off a whim. They don't just see something on telly and think, oh my god, sick, I'm going to do that. That's not normally how these things work. The day after the killing spree, a candlelit memorial was held in honour of the victims. This was followed by a memorial service where more than 20,000 people were in attendance. Elliot Rodgers obviously didn't just commit murder. He, of course, did commit murder, and that is the worst part of what he did. But he obviously left behind this manifesto where he is attempting to justify what he is doing and justify his horrendous actions. Of course, mental health is a big thing in this, and I do, of course, blame Elliot because he should have been looking after himself. But sometimes mental health means that you're unable to look after yourself. And of course, his parents were paying for therapy. Fantastic. But fucking do something yourself. Look into what is causing him to be like that. Look into his triggers. Make sure he's taking his medication. And after little things happen, like the throwing coffee on people, spraying people with water guns, trying to push people off a fucking ledge, that should be the biggest and reddest flag of them all, that you should be getting him some more help. And after the police, obviously they do call the police to go around and check that he's okay, but did they go around and check he was okay? Did they follow up on that anymore? Like, what happened with that? It's incredibly frustrating in this case because I feel like this could have been prevented. There's a lot of questions that this case kind of forces you to ask yourself, like how do you talk about mental health and how do you discuss it in these forms of cases without trying to excuse the violence, because that's absolutely not what I'm trying to do. I think it's awful what he did. I think it's absolutely disgusting what he did, and I think it's disgusting how he thought. But I also think it's wrong that he didn't receive any help from the people that were supposed to be helping him. And how do online communities, what is it? And the danger of online communities, that like the incel online communities, that sounds like kind of what Elliot was involved in. They are reinforcing dangerous ideologies and hatred of women, and that is not on. And just the poor people in this case that suffered as a result of Elliot's actions, and what he thought he was doing in his head was that he genuinely thought what he was doing was right. And that is so alarming. I think I've ranted enough. This is why I don't want to do this case. I feel like I've just done a deep dive into psychology. I would love to know your thoughts on this case. I have tried to handle it as delicately as possible, but I do find it incredibly frustrating. Oh my God, I feel like I need a drink after that. Cheers, I need a okay, my positive thoughts are easy today, so that's good. So, positive thoughts of the day, because I am desperate need of one. I go on holiday with my dad tomorrow, which I'm very, very, very much looking forward to. By the time this comes out, I will have been long back, but I'm really looking forward to it. He's got me on some kind of fucking fitness boot camp. The gym we're in Primark at the moment, slapping. I bought 2 sets yesterday, because I'm trying to be a skinny queen. I'm not enjoying it, but I'm also not hating it as much as I did. So that's improvement. Oh my God. So until next week, have a lovely week. Make good choices. Look after people. Check up on people. Don't ignore red flags. We need to teach young boys that toxic masculinity is not a good thing. Hating women is not a good thing. Just because one person does one thing to you doesn't mean that everyone's like that. We don't need to hate anyone because no one owes you anything. We don't need to be entitled. We need to stop ranting. Make good choices. Have a good week. Don't get murdered. Love you. Bye.
We might have to do Elliot. Suck my dick, you were.
Can you believe this is my completed pile of cases? I'm hopefully... Head started. No. Freak out. Fuck. The 20th of July. September.